Hello there and welcome. This is All 24 News World News program coming to you live from Algiers with me, Karim Fazakari. These are your headlines. Sri Lanka protesters have vowed to stay in the presidential palace until the Rajapaksa government is over. Japan ruling party scored a major victory in polls in the wake of the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Syrian residents have lost access to vital aid after the UN Security Council failed to extend the authorization for cross-border deliveries. Novak Djokovic surged to a four-set championship match victory against Nick Kyrgios at Wimbledon to claim his fourth consecutive crown. Hello again, those were today's top stories. First in our news, on Sunday, anti-government protesters kept occupying offices of Sri Lanka's President and Prime Minister, pledging to remain there until both of them formally resigned. After the President and Prime Minister of the island nation made their resignation offers on Saturday, the most dramatic day in months of political unrest, the opposition political groups met on Sunday to decide on a new government. According to the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Russia's restrictions on Ukrainian grain shipments may have contributed to the upheaval in Sri Lanka and raised concerns that they could lead to more crises. At a news conference in Bangkok, Antony Blinken asserted that the effects of this Russian aggression are felt all over the world. It may have influenced the circumstance in Sri Lanka. He also made it clear that the United States is worried about the global repercussions. While everything was going on, Blinken urged Russia to permit the approximately 20 million tons of grain to leave Ukraine.
So we're seeing the impact of this Russian aggression play out everywhere. It, again, may have contributed to the situation in Sri Lanka. We're concerned about the implications that it has around the world. We're working very hard to it. But what we are seeing around the world is growing food insecurity that has been significantly exacerbated by the Russian aggression against Ukraine. And as we've had opportunity.
To Japan now, a hearse carrying the body of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe arrived at Tokyo's Zujuji Temple, where a wake would be held on Monday night, with a funeral for family and close friends on Tuesday. Abe was assassinated on Friday by a man emerging from a crowd using a homemade weapon. Japan's ruling party and its coalition partner won a significant victory in parliamentary vote on Sunday, which allowed Fumio Kishida to rule for more than 3 years and is expected to cope with the challenges and crises that has faced Japan recently. Islam Said with the details.
The Japanese ruling coalition wins with a great majority after it was set to increase its presence in the upper house of parliament in votes on Sunday. The win, which comes 3 days after the assassination of former Premier Shinzo Abe, who was killed during an election campaign event. The assassin, who was arrested at the scene of the attack, confessed to purposely targeting Mr. Abe.
It's extremely regrettable that the globally beloved and respected leader's life has been taken, inheriting the legacy of Abe, especially abduction issues and the Constitution Amendment, which he put so much of his efforts into.
The Liberal Democratic Party, along with its junior coalition partner, Qomero, won 76 out of 125 upper house seats, which is over half the seats up for grabs. The major opposition Constitutional Democratic Party seats fell below 20 after it held 23 seats in the House of Councillors.
Surpassing our goal of securing more than half of the seats, we were able to get 76 seats as a result, which are more than what we had before the election.
Before announcing winning candidates, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida led a minute of silence for Abe at the headquarters of the governing party. The LDP president has also emphasized his willingness to listen to the voice of people.
I will continue working and bring a bright future for our beloved country, Japan, which Abe loved too. We need to pass this legacy to the next generation.
The election outcome was expected to strengthen Prime Minister's grip on power. His party was projected to receive a full backing after Abe's assassination. Meanwhile, Kishida would face many challenges to cope with, including rising prices and energy shortages after the heat wave that led to power crisis in the archipelago.
To the Middle East now, and more specifically to Syria, where residents Syria's last rebel-held northwest have lost access to vital aid after the United Nations Security Council failed to extend the authorization for cross-border deliveries. The last aid deliveries from Turkey to Syrians through Bab al-Hawa took place on Friday after the UN Security Council failed to extend humanitarian aid for another year by a way of Russian veto. The UN says 4,600 trucks carrying mostly food have been taken aid to northwest Syria, helping 2.4 million people. Around 1.7 million Syrian citizens are living in camps, with 58% of them children. Since the government lost control on the enclave, authorities have cut basic services of medical facilities and schools. Moving on to a different matter now, 19 people were murdered and several more are in serious conditions at Chris Hani Hospital after a mass shooting in the Nomamzo neighborhood, or Nomamzo or Nomzamo neighborhood of Johannesburg, Soweto. Sofian Kinturi with the details.
Police in Johannesburg, Soweto slum of Nomzamo reported 19 people dead and several in serious conditions at Chris Hani Hospital after a gang of guys entered the bar late on Saturday night in a minibus and started shooting at some of the customers.
Sadly, the death toll have now risen to 15, but the good news is that one injured person also discharged. Yeah, that's what we have. But the investigation for now, I can say all evidence on the crime scene is being lifted, taken, packaged nicely for analysis in our laboratories.
A customer and a bar shooting survivor who wished to remain anonymous and have his image covered out of fear of penalties claimed that he only managed to get away by hiding behind the table.
sindile khona ukuthi ingene ngaphansi kwesinunka then uningi labantu nje uluvele ladubuleka nje mina ngisine ukuthi ingene ngaphansi kwesinunka and ngiphume lapho mhlawumbe mase kupheleni awu ngoba sengibona abanye besukuma becheck ukuthi ngoba ubani abasindile ubani abenzakelile ngabe nami ngiyaphuma ngaphansi kwesinunka ngiyachecka ngizama abantu ukuthi bafonele ama-ambulance namapolisi.
2 weeks have passed since 21 adolescents were discovered dead in a bar in the city of Eastern London. Before the shooting in the Soweto bar, authorities have not yet disclosed the cause of those deaths, but they have stated that neither gunfire nor stampede killed the teenagers.
Gunmen who attacked a train in northwest Nigeria's Kaduna state in March have released 7 more hostages following talks a negotiator said Sunday. The hostages are 6 men and a woman who have been released due to their conditions that require urgent medical care. The largest grove of giant sequoias in Yosemite National Park is under threat from a wildfire that more than doubled in size in a single day, as the United States prepares for yet another year with high fire activity. Firefighters were battling the blaze in treacherous terrain on Sunday to save the iconic trees and a small mountain town. Campers and locals close to the fire were evacuated, but the vast park in California was left open despite bad air quality and thick smoke obscuring spectacular views.
And so far, we have not had any giant sequoias burn, which is wonderful. We've done a lot of preventative measures. We've done prescribed burning over the years. We've done a lot of the fuels treatment. It's really a collaborative effort, and we know that with wildfires throughout the state right now, we can't do this alone. These firefighters are incredibly skilled and are going into areas where they're doing everything from falling trees to suppressing fire to cutting fire line, and we're using a variety of methods.
Several thousand firefighters on Sunday battled wildfires in Portugal that authorities say have injured 29 people already. Local media quoted authorities saying 12 firefighters and 17 civilians required medical assistance to treat minor injuries caused by the blazes. The Civil Protection Agency said that more than 3,000 firefighters were engaged in combating active fires.
The precautions are to put out water buckets and wait for the fire to come. We were already seeing it would come our way. Seeing the way the wind would turn, we will stay here all night.
Moving on to a different matter, a year after floods devastated in the east of Belgium, people remain traumatized by the event, and fellow townsfolk are still repairing their ravaged homes. The floods last July were the most destructive in living memory, shocking the wealthy country that had escaped the worst effects of climate change, as the floods caused more than 40 fatalities. After heavy snowstorms hit central Chile, authorities conducted operations to help evacuate people trapped inside their vehicles in the Los Caracoles mountain in the Valparaiso region. Chilean federal police said that more than 250 cars were stuck in the snow, and the army has been helping to clear roads on Saturday night. As monsoon rains continue to pummel the nation and cause flash floods in some areas, the number of people killed in rain-related incidents in Pakistan over the past month has grown to 147, officials said. According to the National Disaster Management Authority, 88 women and children are currently among the deceased. Homes, roads, bridges, and power plants all around the nation were also harmed by the monsoon rains. Russian missile hit an apartment building in eastern Ukraine and killed at least 15 people, according to Kiev. Hossein Barkan has the story.
Russian forces continued to shell eastern Ukraine on Sunday, killing at least 15 people in a strike that ripped open an apartment building in Chasir Yar, according to Ukrainian authorities. The strike occurred at night in a small town of 12,000 inhabitants. According to Kiev, 24 people are still under the rubble, including a child, while 5 others were saved. After a Russian missile hit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky responded, saying that all those who hit their cities with rocket fire will all be found. In his evening address, Zelensky added that Ukrainian law enforcement is doing everything necessary to record the occupiers' crimes and collect evidence.
All those who carried out these shelling and other missile strikes, all those hitting our cities with a rocket fire, such as in the Kharkiv region in Zaporizhia, as well as in Siversk, Vohilidar, in the Donetsk region, they will all be found.
The Ukrainian leader called Russia a terrorist state and accused Russian troops of purposely targeting ordinary houses.
Russian terror has long since crossed the line beyond which it has become apparent to many in civilized world. That is a matter of global security to punish Russia, a terrorist state, for all that it has against Ukraine and the international legal order.
The Russian army, which announced in early July that it had taken control of the Lugansk region, is now targeting Donetsk to occupy the entire Donbas mining basin. It has been partially controlled since 2014 by separatists backed by Moscow after the Russian annexation of the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula.
Germany is in the dark about what will happen once the Nord Stream 1 pipeline carrying Russian gas ends its 10-day maintenance period. Klaus Müller, head of the federal agency, said that Nord Stream 1 no longer delivered gas from Monday morning.
Germany keeps receiving gas, thankfully, from Norway via the liquid natural gas terminals in Belgium and the Netherlands. So gas keeps flowing to Germany. But it is true that Nord Stream 1 has been shut down because of the maintenance work. We knew this, and in about 10 days, we will know whether gas will flow again.
European shares fell on Monday, gripped by investor concerns over energy supply crunch, while fresh COVID-19 cases in China and the discovery of a new coronavirus variant dented commodity-linked stocks. The benchmark for European natural gas price dropped 6% to 160 euros per megawatt hour, as worries about Russian supply cuts to the continent's gas market grew since early June. Its price more than doubled. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said his new government is determined to put the country's relationship with the Pacific Island nations back on track following fears over China's security pact signing with the Solomon Islands earlier this year. Albanese said his government wants to cooperate with China where it can, but that he will stand for Australia's interests when he must. It's worth noting that leaders of the Pacific Islands Forum meet on Sunday or Monday until Thursday.
Well, we are engaging in the lead up to the Pacific Island Forum, and indeed Ministers Wong and Conroy are leaving for the Pacific Island Forum today. This is an important meeting. Can I say this, that the Fijian Prime Minister has done a wonderful job in trying to bring the Pacific Island Forum together. There had been some division in the past from time to time. We will cooperate with China where we can. I want to build good relations with all countries.
Thousands of people gathered today, Monday, on the eastern Bosnian town of Srebrenica to mark the 27th anniversary of Europe's only acknowledged genocide since the Holocaust and attend the funeral of 50 recently identified victims.
We come here every year. We want to pay respect and say goodbye to our dearest.
What can I say? This is so hard for me. I lost my husband, my son, my brother, everything.
Amid celebrations of Eid al-Adha, pilgrims from around the world returned for Hajj after 2 years of severe COVID-19 restrictions. Muslim pilgrims in Mecca performed the tawaf around the Kaaba as Hajj nears to an end at Mecca's Grand Mosque. 1 million Muslims from around the world gathered this week in Mecca, where in 2019 around 2.6 million pilgrims had visited Islam's two holiest sites for Hajj, and some 19 million others who attended Umrah. And finally in our news, Novak Djokovic rose to the big occasion and beat the mercurial Nick Kyrgios to claim a fourth consecutive Wimbledon title and his seventh overall. The top seed has now won 21 Grand Slams, just one behind Rafa Nadal's 22 for the most in the history of men's tennis.
I lost words for what this tournament, what this trophy means to me, to my team, to my family. I've said this many times. It's always has been and will be the most special tournament in my heart, the one that motivated me, inspired me to start playing tennis in a small little mountain resort in Serbia where my parents used to run a restaurant. I was 4.5, 5 years old, and I saw Pete Sampras win his first Wimbledon in '92, and I asked my dad and mom to buy me a racket, and my first image of tennis was grass and Wimbledon, and I always dreamed of coming here, just playing in this court, and then of course realizing the childhood dream and winning this trophy. And
well, that's all we have for now. But here's a reminder of our top stories. Sri Lanka protesters have vowed to stay in the presidential palace until the Rajapaksa government is over. Japan ruling party scored a major victory in polls in wake of the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Syrian residents have lost access to vital aid after the UN Security Council failed to extend the authorization for cross-border deliveries. Novak Djokovic surged to a 4-set championship match victory against Nick Kyrgios at Wimbledon to claim his 4th consecutive crown. We reached the end of our program. This is Karim Fazakari signing off. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now.